And today I'm going to talk about 5 lessons in business that I wish someone would have told me back on day 1 of my journey. Because the last place you want to be as an entrepreneur is you worked hard, you had a brilliant idea, you executed it really well, and you made someone else rich. Startups. That's a very exciting word. You get an idea, you think you have a solution to address a fundamental problem in your life, and you believe in it so much, you have visions of endless possibilities. You convince a few people to work with you, and eventually you're going to find someone who believes in you enough to give you the money for it. Problem solved? Not quite. 1 year into it, I'm sure most of you will realize that finding the money to solve the problem was not the toughest of the challenges. Hi, I'm Suneet Reddy. I'm the founder and CEO of BeForest. And today I'm going to talk about 5 lessons in business that I wish someone would have told me back on day 1 of my journey. The first lesson is always negotiate in peace and not at war. I'm going to talk about a small story to illustrate that. I grew up in a small city in Hyderabad, which back then was a tier 2 city, and my family was quite conservative. So I grew up in this environment, and I think the focus on education was primarily because my dad was a first generation English educated guy in his family, and that meant I grew up on stories about how he came on his own, struggled on his own, and brought himself up in life. But in every story, every anecdote I heard, one thing that stuck with me was a joke that my grandfather used to always crack on him, is how come he had to work so hard in the city only to work for someone else, and instead he could just choose to be in the village and have 30-40 people working for him. Now that's something that stayed with me. I really admired how my dad actually got through it in spite of his father not supporting him in this journey. And that stayed with me. So every time I heard a story about him, I went back to him and I told him, if I ever feel so passionately about something that you don't believe in, I still want you to support me. I want you to support me no matter what. And eventually, when I graduated from college, I got into a tech company called Lime Group. And one of the companies in that group was involved with algorithmic trading. Algorithmic trading is where you build programs that are smart enough to make financial decisions to trade in the stock markets without any human intervention whatsoever. Now that fascinated me. Now back in 2007, I had friends who were working in the field of finance and they were making potloads of money while I was struggling in the tech space. And I always used to think, how do I get into this space? And when I started working with Lime Group and this idea of algorithmic trading came up, I was very fascinated by it because I had the skill to do it, and now that was my break, using technology to be trading in this space. At the same time, I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. So I also tried going the MBA route to break into a new segment. And in parallel, I was trying to find more and more about this space, find trading opportunities, ideas that I could build into programs to trade in the financial worlds. Now, I met more people. I found a group of friends who were willing to start up with me. And eventually, we even found a guy who was willing to give us the money to experiment. For the first time, I felt I had the skill set to do it, the money to back the idea, and the timing was right. And it's very rare that these 3 things come together at the same time in a person's life. I knew that was an opportunity. But at the same time, the social pressure of having to do further education. I had a company that was live, trading in the stock markets. We were not very big then, but at least we were live. And we knew we were within sniffing distance of success. Now I was in a dilemma. Do I go through the MBA route because I can always start something whenever I want? Or do I jump into this opportunity that showed up? So I went to my father for advice. And what he told me changed my life. He just told me that you know what you want and give it your best shot. I'm going to support you. That made it crystal clear in my head that the new opportunity had to be taken advantage of, and I had to start this thing. Now, because this negotiation, this understanding with my father was reached at peacetime, when that real question didn't arise, this understanding had a long-term effect. Both of us he supported me no matter what. Whereas at the same time, I remember my mom and my immediate cousins or the immediate circle of family and friends gave me the impression that I was throwing my life away and making the biggest mistake of my life. In fact, I remember my mom having said, don't come back crying if something goes wrong. And my dad said, where else would he go? He'll come back to us. So that's what wartime does to you. Frustration, anxiety, panic, anger, all these override rationale. And in peacetime, you're really thinking rationally and always thinking about a win-win situation where everyone is satisfied. War times very rarely result in win-win situations. So we jumped right in, me and my group of founders, along with our investor backing us wholeheartedly. We gave it our best shot, and in a short span of time of 2 or 3 years, we were doing really well. We had pretty much monopolized the algo trading market, and very soon we were doing most of the volume that was happening on an Indian exchange. To the extent where if anybody was buying anything or selling anything in the currency or equity markets, it's most likely that you're buying it from us or selling to us. That's where we were. So where do we grow from here? The only option for us was we had to expand internationally to more geographies. Now that was the tricky part. Because going abroad meant you're trying to take on people who are doing it for 10 years, a much more mature market. In India, we were the first guys. Outside, we were probably the 10,000th guys. So we needed a lot more firepower and a lot bigger war chest. That meant looking for an investor again. So we started scouting for people whom we are comfortable with, who could give us the right backing, the right network, and getting us into the right spaces. Eventually, we did find someone who liked us as well. We went through the usual due diligence process, and he came down to India to take us out for lunch. Now that's something that everyone does to get to know you better. Now during this lunch, we had a casual conversation about family and everything, and he popped the question, what about the exit plan? Now in this field of algo trading, it's a very people dependent industry. So if one person goes, you're taking some part of the value away. Now that is why he asked us this question. And we were foolish enough to say, we were naive enough to say that why would we need an exit agreement at all? If the company is doing well, why would we go anywhere else? And if it's not doing well, what's the point of doing it? I remember he burst out laughing and he said something profound. You're not always going to feel the same way about the people around you or the circumstances. There will come a time when you feel differently or your priorities have changed, and at that time, the exit agreement becomes really important. I didn't realize it then, and we kept pushing it down the road. And 3 years later, fate would have it that I was the one who was looking to move out of the company. So it was very simple for me. I thought I'll take what was due to me and go. But then the conversations that followed with my co-founders, my buddies, was left a very bitter aftertaste, because from their perspective, I was jumping ship at a time when we were ready to fly. So both of us thought what we were doing was the right thing and the other guy was wrong. So we walked away from the table, burning bridges with people whom we had spent the last 10 years with, friends whom you've shared the most memorable experiences of your life. And all of it because we didn't have that exit agreement done. That brings us to lesson 2. Having a good exit strategy is almost as important as entering at the right time. Whether it is in the finance world or a career or even something as simple as a cricket match. I moved back to Hyderabad. I was coming back to the city after 16 years and the city had changed dramatically in that time. And one thing that I realized that almost all the metros, irrespective of geographies, the complaints were the same. People were always complaining about scarcity, water scarcity in the summers, and flooding during the monsoons, air pollution, traffic, and you get the gist. And that sort of got me thinking that how come across geographies the problems are the same? It sort of was pointing to something that had fundamentally gone wrong with the system. So me and a group of other friends who were interested in sustainability started discussing about what can we do, what is in our control to solve these immediate problems. And that gave us the idea that why not we start thinking of a prototype village, city, community, whatever it is, and sort of redefine everything and reimagine the way we plan a community. Now to do that, we thought, why don't we look at a landscape of 100 acres, try to design it for 50 families and see what best we can do for it. That's when the idea of Bee Forest and collectives came into our mind. So we started looking for this piece of land very close to the city where we wanted to set up this ideal food secure, water secure and power secure landscape. So unless you have a paper to paint on, there's no meaning to plan the painting. So we wanted to buy that land first, and this meant a financial investment, a lot of capital pressure on the project itself. So we thought, how do we ease that pressure? Why don't we find a few people who are ready to be a part of this community based on the idea itself and not based on a location or a plan? And we went back to social media, gave a detailed explanation about what we wanted to do and asked people to come forward with a check and see if they wanted to be a part of this community. Within a week of having putting this up on social media, we got a call from one investor who said he would buy out 20 units in this collective. 20 units in a collective of 50. That meant almost half of your collective has been sold. That eases the financial pressure on your heads and helps you focus on the right things, on the solution, so to say. But then we were very clear. Our experience had taught us that the first 10-15 people in a community will define the DNA of that community. This goes for anything in life. The first 10 employees of your company are going to define the culture. Why is Facebook the way it is? Why is Google the way it is? How did that work culture come up? It is all because of those first 10-15 guys who came up, who joined that company, and that culture got built in. We wanted to incorporate a similar thing. So this kind of a speculative investor was not checking off any of these tick boxes. And we were, on one side, he was solving a big problem. He was giving us a lot of money. On the other side, he was not the kind of a person we wanted in the community. Now that was the dilemma we were trying to address. So I picked up the phone, got into a conversation with him, and I was very clear. It became even more clearer that he was not suited. That's what I told him, that maybe this is not the right idea for you. And we said a clear no and hung up. Even when I was saying the no, I couldn't help but think maybe this is a big mistake. I should have just taken the money, and maybe the next 30 guys in the community will help us redefine it. But no, the rational part of my brain was telling me, no, it's not going to happen. That's not how things work. So the ability to say that rational no was a definitive moment in our growth. And that brings us to lesson number 3. A rational no at the right time, the ability to say it, is one of the most valuable skill sets an entrepreneur can have. It's almost right up there with the capability to execute the idea. So that's how the journey of B4S began, and today we are running 4 different collectives across different geographies. And we reached a stage where we knew that we are talking about mammoth projects now. So we needed a team that has already done a lot. So we started talking to experienced folks. One such conversation I was having was with a junior of mine from college who had himself done a startup and got a brilliant exit out as well. He had recently been acquired when I was having this conversation with him. Initially, I thought he got in touch with us to actually acquire us or invest in us. But then slowly, as the conversation turned out, he was looking to work with us. I still was under the impression that he liked us so much that he wanted to work with us. But then when the conversation centered around compensation, that's when I felt something was out of place. So I took him out for a dinner and I started talking to him. Now what I understood from that conversation was something that blew my mind away. This guy had actually gotten such a good exit, but what bit him was a term called liquidation preferences. Now this is something that every entrepreneur, especially a first-time entrepreneur, has to know. Liquidation preference. I want to explain this a little. Liquidation preference is where someone has the first right on any money that is realized on a sale of shares or assets. Which means if a company gets sold for $5 million in cash, anybody with the liquidation preference first gets to take their money out, and only then is the remaining part split between people. So I asked him, when the deal was so bad, what was the need to go for an acquisition? Why did you even agree to something like this? What he told me was that he didn't have enough votes. The board had outvoted him. He didn't have the right to say no to it. And the investors had felt that he was not growing fast enough. Now, as an entrepreneur, you always want to be in the driver's seat. You never really want to give up that much say in things to someone else. But then, why did he even agree to the 1.5x and 2x liquidation preferences? The maximum I had heard of was 1x. Why did he agree to this 2x liquidation preference? This guy was someone who came straight out of college to start up his own venture. And he had no idea about all these things. And there were a lot of terms that were passed off as standard venture capital terms. And there was no lawyer or no CA on his side that told him or fought his corner. That brings us to lesson 4 and 5. Equity is a very valuable thing. You can't give up too much too quickly unless you see a big upside. And lesson number 5, a good CA and a good lawyer are worth their weight in gold. In this case, they were worth $2 million to be exact. The entrepreneur could have walked away $1.5 million with him. Instead, he walked away with $20,000. That was the difference. These guys are your generals in the battle. They have to fight your corner. That's the biggest advice I can give you, because the last place you want to be as an entrepreneur is you worked hard, you had a brilliant idea, you executed it really well, and you made someone else rich.
कि आप जो स्टॉक्स देख रहे हैं, जाहिर सी बात है कि आप अपनी ज़िंदगी में आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। ये जाहिर सी बात है कि आप अपनी ज़िंदगी को सीरियसली लेते हैं, आप वो सारे स्किल्स एक्वायर करना चाहते हैं जिससे आप ज़िंदगी में तरक्की कर सकें, लोगों से आगे बढ़ पाएँ। और अगर ये सच है, तो जोश स्टॉक्स का ही एक ऐप है जोश स्किल्स, जहाँ एग्जैक्टली इसी चीज़ को करने के लिए बहुत ही खूबसूरत, बहुत सारे कोर्सेज बनाए गए हैं। कोर्सेज जो लाखों स्टूडेंट्स ऑलरेडी ले चुके हैं। ये कोर्सेज स्पेसिफिकली सिर्फ एजुकेशनल नहीं है जहां आप एक्सेल स्किल्स, पावर पॉइंट स्किल्स और ये सब सीख सकते हैं, बल्कि लाइफ स्किल्स भी हैं जहां आप पब्लिक स्पीकर कैसे बना जाए वो सीख सकते हैं, आप कॉन्फिडेंस कैसे एक्वायर कर सकते हैं वो सीख सकते हैं, आप हेजिटेशन के बिना कैसे बोलें वो सीख सकते हैं, आप अपनी पर्सनालिटी कैसे डेवलप कर सकते हैं वो सीख सकते हैं। हर एक कोर्स में डेली क्विजेज हैं, एक्सरसाइजेज हैं, एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत कम्युनिटी है जो आपको सपोर्ट करेगी, आपको इनकरेज करेगी। तो अगर आपको ये टॉक पसंद आया हो, जोश टॉक्स जो करता है वो पसंद है, तो आपको जोश स्किल्स भी बहुत बहुत ही फायदेमंद लगेगा। आज ही डाउनलोड करें जोश स्किल्स का ऐप और उनके कोर्सेज एक्सप्लोर करके अपनी ज़िंदगी को आगे बढ़ाएं।